Thank you, Mike Stevens, the 13th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, for those great remarks and for your amazing leadership of the Navy League, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. It's truly been an incredible start to Sea Air Space 2025, and I hope everyone is enjoying the first day of what promises to be an outstanding 3-day exposition. It is now my distinct honor to introduce our keynote speaker and a personal hero of mine. We are privileged to have with us today the Commandant of the United States Marine Corps, General Eric Smith. He has an incredibly demanding schedule, and we are deeply grateful that he has taken the time to join us here today. His astute leadership, focused vision, and unwavering commitment to the men and women of the United States Marine Corps is truly inspiring, and his dedication to our national security is unwavering. Commandant Smith, on behalf of the Navy League of the United States, thank you for being here and for your steadfast leadership of our United States Marine Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Eric Smith.
All right, well, I'm going to break out my spectacles. So I used to try to do this without them, and then the font got so big that the speech looked like it was massive and scared the audiences. So I'm going to use my reading glasses, and I apologize in advance. So first, thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your support to RC Services. It is truly a privilege to get to be here today, to get to see so many friends that frankly I only get to see once a year when I come to this thing. But it really is good to see this many friends of the Marine Corps and the Sea Services and the Navy. And it's especially good to sit with my good friend, Jim Kilby. Jim and I, quick story, and I always tell this, but it doesn't get old. Jim's a fly fisherman. And I'm a saltwater fisherman, so I'm using rod and reel. Jim uses a fly rod. And so he told me one time, we were both basically the N9, and I was the M9, I was a Mixedic. And Jim said, well, I'll take you on the Rappahannock. We'll go fly fishing. And I said, okay, sounds good. He's going to teach me. And so I said, I don't have any gear. And he said, well, I got all the gear you need. I got waders, I got boots, I got fly rod. What he didn't tell me is, he had size 7 boots, and I got size 10 feet. So I shoved my size 10 feet into size 7, 7.5 wading boots, and I was out there, fly fishing like I was walking on eggshells. But Jim, it's really good to be with you, and thanks for what you do for our Navy. I want to use this time to speak frankly about the challenges we face, the progress we've made with force design, and the priorities that will guide your Marine Corps in the years ahead. I'll begin with what makes the Navy and Marine Corps team the premier expeditionary fighting force on the planet, and that is the ARGMU, the Amphibious Ready Group Marine Expeditionary Unit. An amphibious ready group with an embarked Marine Expeditionary Unit is the coin of the realm. It's the Swiss Army knife of the DoD inventory. My top priority as a Commandant is restoring a 3.0 MU presence worldwide. That means one ARGMU off the East Coast, handling the Mediterranean and the coast of Africa, one ARGMU off the West Coast, handling the Indo-Pacific, and an episodic deployment of a new ARGMU out of Okinawa, Japan. That 3.0 ARGMU presence is, in my opinion, the minimum that's required when the COCOM demand signal is 5.5 ARGMUs. Now, obviously, we can't produce 5.5 ARGMUs, but we can produce and have historically produced 3. And so that's my primary goal, is getting back to a 3.0 ARGMU presence. That's heel to toe. That means one goes out, one comes home, when the next one goes out. And there's 24/7, 365 coverage. Again, East Coast, West Coast, and Okinawa. Real world experience and operational demand all point to the same conclusion. that we need 3 forward deployed MEUs, ready, present, and persistent. And that's why it's a priority. The MEU, a 3-ship naval amphibious ship with the Marine Air Ground Task Force, is again the most versatile tool in the DoD inventory. They can do a little bit of everything and a whole lot of warfare. It integrates capabilities from across our 4 elements of the Marine Air Ground Task Force, like infantry, artillery, light armored reconnaissance, combat aviation, combat service support, medical support, command and control. They operate as one. They blend themselves into a chainmail fist. They make it uniquely able to operate across the range of military operations, supporting everything from expeditionary strikes to amphibious assaults to maritime interdiction operations, or MEOs. When a contingency arises, the President, Secretary of Defense need options on the table, and the MEU provides them with the most options when they are on station. This is where I get to be frank with you. Maintaining a constant 3.0 RD presence is a challenge right now. By law, we require a minimum of 31 amphibious warships. And with 31 amphibious warships, that number is based on 80% ASO, 80% readiness. And we're not close to that. We're somewhere hovering around 50% readiness. So Admiral Kilby is working his backside off to increase the readiness of those amphibs, but in many cases, those amphibs are aging and have aged out and have to be replaced. So how do we get to a 3.0 MEU presence? The answer is likely twofold. One, we have to improve the readiness of the ships that we have, and we have to build the ships that we need. Over the years, we allowed the amphibious fleet to degrade. Ships were aging out, maintenance backlogs were growing, and procurement plans were delayed. And that trend has to end. I am staunchly advocating to Navy leadership, to Congress, for a fully mission-capable amphibious force. That means increasing the readiness of the amphibs we have and building the new ones that we need. Now again, those ships didn't age out on their own. The Marine Corps bears some responsibility for how we got here. Because in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, our leadership was focused on Iraq and Afghanistan. We didn't ask to go there, we were ordered to go there. And we went to Helmand Province, also known as Marinistan, and we went into Iraq, went into Al Ramadi, went into Fallujah, and we went into the Sunni Triangle. And again, we were proud to go. But we didn't even look back at the amphibs. And we came home and said, hey, you still got those amphibs? And of course, the answer was, well, we've gotten rid of some of them. And they haven't been maintained because we hadn't used them for a decade. So again, the Marine Corps bears some of that responsibility. But that's in the past, and I'm looking to the future. I'm looking at what the future requires and what the combatant commanders demand. And what I know is a 3.0 R&D presence is the minimum that's required to service all of our combatant commanders. Because you don't know when you're going to need to evacuate Americans from a war-torn country. You don't know when you're going to need to strike, and you don't know when you're going to need to execute an HADR, humanitarian assistance disaster relief. You just don't know. That's why you can move 1,000 miles a day, Texas math, 1,000 miles a day, 24 hours, 15 knots, give or take. You can move 1,000 miles in a day. Now that actually moved about 600 miles a day. Sorry, Texas math coming back home. You can move about 600 miles in a day, and that matters because the expanse of the Pacific is immense. Progress is possible here, but it's going to take time to fully restore this capacity. I applaud the lawmakers who have signaled support for amphibious warfare shipbuilding, because without those ships, Marines can't get to the fight. And that's what we do, is we fight. Talk to you a minute about force design. The Marine on that forward deployed MEU also needs the tools to prevail in the future fight, not the past fights. That's why we have to modernize, to ensure Marines are equipped to deter and, if necessary, defeat a peer threat. Again, we haven't faced a peer threat since World War II, a true peer. we now face that peer threat against the PRC. We're now 5 years into force design. We're in the implementation phase. The Fleet Marine Force is reaping the benefits of the hard choices we made early on and is seeing our new capabilities arrive. We've established 2 Marine Littoral Regiments in the Indo-Pacific, the 3rd MLR in Hawaii and the 12th MLR Marine Littoral Regiment on Okinawa. These are purpose-built formations designed to operate inside contested spaces in support of naval campaigns. Keyword: in support of naval campaigns. We've begun equipping them with the tools to do just that. Both have received the Ground-Air Task-Oriented TPS-80 Gator radar for enhanced sensing. We placed one on Yonaguni Island, 68 miles off the coast of Taiwan, during Resolute Dragon with our Japanese partners. The 3rd MLR has also received the Nemesis, the Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System. It's a remotely operated missile battery that can hold enemy ships at risk and lock down key maritime terrain. And again, the full range of the Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System missile battery is classified, but it's enough to get out there and shut down the slots, sea lines of communication. And it's only going to extend, because what I know is rocketry and the propellants are accelerating faster than the missile itself. So pretty soon you'll still have a 13-foot missile with 3 feet's worth of propellant, but it'll go even further because propellants are advancing. It's just a matter of time. And we're not done. The 12th MLR will be receiving the Nemesis, and the number of overall batteries will triple over the next few years. And the Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System is key. Another key capability that's now entering the force is MADIS, the Marine Air Defense Integrated System. What matters here is simple. MADIS provides organic air defense using electronic warfare and kinetic means to our units at the tactical edge. Organic. For the first time, we've got an organic, useful, meaningful, rangeable air defense system. We used to be armed with a Stinger. That was it. That is not enough to get it done against the PRC. From drones to fixed-wing aircraft, it gives our formations a layered ability to sense and shoot on their own terms. Again, once they've been given the green light, then they've got to be able to defend themselves. Part of our force design effort is our campaign of learning. It's a deliberate cycle of experimentation, feedback that helps us refine how we organize for the fight. I call it a virtuous cycle. You decide, you experiment, you adjust. You decide, you experiment, you adjust. It's a virtuous cycle. I came from a guy named Doug Hoffman who ran our capabilities and development analytics branch when I was the CDI director. One example of how we've utilized our campaign of learning is a decision I made just last week. We're standing up a dedicated fires and reconnaissance company within the infantry battalion, shifting capabilities out of H&S Company, headquarters and service. By consolidating our 81mm mortars, our organic precision fires, and the scout platoon into a single unit, we're better postured to integrate intelligence, precision fires, and reconnaissance at greater ranges. It's all about range, to better enable battalion maneuver. Again, it is all about range. This adjustment didn't come from the top down. It's been driven by battalions in the field, empowered by our campaign of learning to refine and adapt. So as we experiment, we have our young battalion commanders telling us how to do things, and we're complying with them. We're executing what they direct from the bottom up. We've also made the decision to move back to a 13 Marine Rifle Squad. This includes a school trained squad leader sergeant and 3 fire teams. While this structure sounds familiar, it now includes an organic precision fire specialist. Bottom line is our campaign of learning is real. We experiment, we listen, and we adapt. But again, this is where I can speak candidly to you. Your Marine Corps has made advances with respect to modernization, but unpredictable funding slows our modernization efforts and requires us to make tough decisions. We need to sustain our ever-increasing, and to sustain or even increase our modernization momentum. And that only happens with support of folks like those in this room. We need industry to provide smart solutions that can scale and stay within cost and schedule. Again, cost, performance, and schedule. Sound like a broken record. But more importantly, we need the predictable, sufficient, and on-time funding that only Congress can provide. And I'll stay out of politics, but I will say that we need predictable, on-time funding that only Congress can provide. Meaning that continuing resolutions aren't continuing anything, they're stopping. They stop our progress. I'd also like to talk about what we're doing to take care of our Marines, to those who raise their right hands and swore an oath to our Constitution. One of my top priorities as a Commandant is fixing our long-standing infrastructure issues, especially the places where our Marines live. And again, I won't apologize for how we ended up here after spending 2 decades of war in the Middle East, but the funding decisions were made to prioritize saving Marines' lives in combat over infrastructure at home. Those were good decisions. They were righteously taken. But we bought MRAPs, blast blankets, IED jammers, close quarters weaponry, mine detectors, and those decisions did save lives. But now we have to have a plan to address these problems, and we call it Barracks 2030. It is, in my view, the most consequential infrastructure investment plan that the Marine Corps has ever undertaken. Barracks 2030 is a heavy lift. We estimate approximately $5 billion, with a B, $5 billion, over the future years defense plan, the 5 years defense program. But it's time to address it, because taking care of our Marines today is how we keep them around for the future fight. And again, the one thing you can't buy back is manpower. This is where I need help from our partners in Congress, and we need your support. I'm grateful for the support we've received from Congress thus far. We're on track for 11 barracks renovation projects that began last year, and we're hoping to initiate 12 more projects in FY25. We're requesting even more in the next budget, but frankly, year-long CRs make projects of this scope very difficult because no new starts. And again, Marines will vote with their feet if they don't live in decent conditions. They will vote with their feet. The Marine Corps takes being a good steward of the tax dollar very seriously. We've been the only service to pass 2 consecutive audits, and we intend to keep it that way. We'll continue to pass our audits. Again, we can account for every dollar. A dollar invested in the Marine Corps is a dollar well spent. But a continuing resolution forces tough decisions. Priorities must be weighed and trade-offs must be made. We'll always take care of our people. Pay, benefits, and must-pay bills come off the top. But after that, we'll have to do less with less, not more with less. Modernization, facilities, and quality of life improvements, those are areas where we're going to have to accept risk because there just isn't the funding to fully fund them. That's just the reality. We appreciate every dollar we receive, and we'll continue to provide or to prove that every dollar we receive is put to good use. I know I've covered a lot in just a few minutes, and I want to leave time for a couple of questions, but I'll close with this. One thing that will never change is our discipline and our warrior ethos. We'll continue to adapt to the changing character of war. The nature of war doesn't change, but the character does. We'll never lose sight of who we are. We are a warfighting organization. Every Marine is a rifleman, built to fight and win our nation's battles. That's my promise to you and to the nation. Who we are, where we're going, how we fight, it all comes back to our discipline, our warrior ethos, and our commitment to be the most ready when the nation is the least ready. Again, I'll say that again. We are the most ready when the nation is least ready. That's why you pay me. That's why you pay my Marines. To be the most ready when the nation is least ready. Because somebody has to be first through the door. And that's us. That's what we do. So thanks for listening to me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And I will take a couple of questions.
Our first question this afternoon. What efforts are you taking to ensure the mobility of forces in an environment like the Indo-Pacific, which is sure to become a contested logistics environment in the event of a major conflict?
Yeah. What I would say is we are working hard on a littoral maneuver bridging solution. We're trying very hard to get littoral maneuver down. We're trying hard to keep our engines up and to get the littoral maneuver bridging solution. And that littoral maneuver bridging solution, the LMBS, is a combination of things. It is a combination of stern landing vessels, it's LCU 2000s, and it's going to be new starts. So I would offer to you that is primarily what we're doing, is we're working on the littoral maneuver bridging solution until we can get to a purpose-built ship that is made to do our bidding, made to move us throughout the first island chain. But we have to start with a non-developmental solution and experiment, and then we have to go to a purpose-built solution.
Our next question. Commandant, can you talk a little more about what makes Marine littoral regiments different from traditional infantry regiments? How do they tie into the larger Navy and Joint Force team?
Yeah. What I would say about the Marine Littoral Regiment, what makes it different, is its ability to fire from shore to sea. Its ability to sense and make sense of what is happening using our MQ-9 Reaper drones. So it's got the ability to influence the sea lines of communications. It's got the ability to influence where enemy vessels can go and to help herd them into kill boxes so that our shipmates can kill them. That is what makes a Marine Littoral Regiment different. It's designed to be expeditionary, light, lethal, austere, self-sufficient, and highly mobile. And it's designed, again, to range with our Naval Strike Missile out into ranges that are going to continue to expand out into the short hundreds of miles eventually, so that we'll be able to shut down sea lines of communication and herd the adversary into kill boxes for the Navy. This is the Joint Navy and Marine Corps enterprise, a Joint Navy and Marine Corps team. And if the PRC, who's our pacing threat, if they choose to act aggressively, they're going to have to be knocked back. And this is how we'll do it, is with Marine Littoral Regiments.
Ladies and gentlemen, this will be the last question for General Smith. Commandant, the Marine Corps consistently makes its recruiting and retention mission, but other services have struggled to meet their goals. What are the secrets to continuously meeting the Corps' recruiting and retention goals?
Yeah, I'm a former recruiter. My son's a current recruiter right now. We make mission because we didn't join you. You joined us. You know, the old "we didn't promise you a rose garden" commercial or poster. We hold our recruiters accountable for the mission. We give them a very specific mission to meet. It's about 3 contracts per month. And if they don't meet their mission, we relieve them. It's simple as that. So our goal is to recruit the best of America's talent. We want to recruit from every zip code. And we have a very structured, systematic way of doing recruiting. Again, you make so many phone calls, you get so many interviews. You make so many interviews, you get so many contracts. And then we also have to work to make sure that our boot camp attrition stays low. Right now, it's very low, and that's good, because we can't have, you know, all of our hard-earned recruits show up at boot camp and get injured or DOR, drop on request, because we can't make you become a Marine. You can DOR, you can quit from boot camp, you can quit from OCS, and we have to make sure that the audio and the visual match, that your recruiter who recruited you from every zip code in America, make sure that they personally prepped you for boot camp, make sure they personally prepped you for officer candidate school. Again, we hold our recruiters accountable, and we have career recruiters, 8412s. Those that go out and do successful recruiting duty and they like it, and we let them stay on recruiting duty. So each recruiting station has multiple recruiting substations. Again, Recruiting Station Dallas has RSS Frisco, RSS Recruiting Substation Plano, Recruiting Substation Richardson, and each of them has a career recruiter who's leading them, at least most of them do. And that career recruiter understands systematic recruiting, and we lead them in the area so they know the high school principals, they know the high school football coaches, the high school wrestling coaches. I mean, it's not any harder than that. It's a really simple formula, but you gotta hold people accountable. And we hold our recruiters accountable. We relieve quite a few every year, unfortunately. And it doesn't mean that that's the end of their career. When we relieve you from recruiting duty, not for malfeasance, but just because you couldn't recruit, you can still go back and be an aircraft mechanic, you can go back and be an infantry marine, back and be an artillery marine, and you can be wildly successful. Probably not as wildly successful had you been successful in recruiting, but you can still be wildly successful. Because other people went out and they were able to be successful in recruiting duty when you were not. So when push comes to shove, somebody's going to get the nod and somebody's going to get to go home. But that's how we do our recruiting, and that's how we continue to make our mission. So hopefully that answers that question. All right. Well, I think I am getting off the stage. I really appreciate the ability to be here. I appreciate your attention. I really appreciate the focus on amphibs. And I appreciate that the people in this room have influence and sway over Congress, and you can help us. Because again, we are only as good as our mobility. Because if we build an RU and we have it on the coast of North Carolina or on the coast of California, it does no one any good. It's only valuable when it's forward deployed. And again, that's what Admiral Kilby and I are working on. We're committed to it. And again, trust tactics matter. And Jim Kilby is a good man and a man of his word. And so he and I we go way back. And so we are committed to return to a 3.0 RMU presence. That's my number one goal as the Commandant, to get us back to that. And I think we can do it. We're going to need a lot of help from Congress. And again, we're going to need a lot of help from the shipbuilding industry, keeping costs down. It's cost overruns and the death knell for shipping. But that's where we stand. So with that, I'm going to get off the stage. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, General Smith, for your remarks this afternoon. Our next sessions begin at 2 p.m., and we look forward to seeing you at the Maryland Exhibit Hall reception this evening, starting at 5 p.m.